Hey everybody, welcome back to Riff with Cliff. Today we are going to be taking a look at a simple yet useful guitar trick, which is how to read the date on a potentiometer. So what is a potentiometer? If you don't know what a potentiometer is, on your guitar you have a volume knob and a tone knob, sometimes more than that. The piece that is underneath that is a shaft that spins, and that is called a potentiometer. And the potentiometer either allows you to have full volume or full tone, and they also have a date on them. So why is it useful to know the date? Well, sometimes you might not have access to the serial number on a guitar, which I have unfortunately seen happen before, especially on some old vintage guitars where it wears away. And so people may be skeptical of, oh, what year is this guitar? And it might be hard to date it. So one of the tricks that I have learned over time is actually how to read a potentiometer date, though sometimes it could be difficult and sometimes it could be confusing. So hopefully you have the serial number, but if not, then here's a way to do it. Now, I haven't opened up all of my guitars to take a look at the potentiometer dates on here. I'm not even sure if all the potentiometers in all of my guitars have been replaced, and sometimes that happens. So if that happens, you're not going to be able to obviously date the guitar correctly if the potentiometers have been changed out. If you like this kind of guitar stuff, do me a favor, be sure to subscribe to this channel, as it helps me out tremendously. Anyway, let's get started. Let's take a look at this guitar right here. All right, I'm going to be switching back and forth between this camera here and my phone here. So here's my Telecaster, a close-up of my Telecaster, and here's the volume and the tone control held in by these screws on the end. So let me just unscrew those real quick. I got this little kind of makeshift setup. It's not ideal, but it works, and it's also on top of a bunch of tarantulas, so hopefully nothing goes wrong. Otherwise, all of these tarantulas down below me are gonna go buck wild. Okay, so now I've got this off. Let's go ahead and flip it so we can see. So you can see all the wires holding it on and all the solder points. We can see that it is a 250K pot. You see some dates down here. Those numbers right there are what's going to tell you the date. Right next to that, you can see the letters CTS. If you ever open up your controls here and you see a number on your potentiometer that says 137, that is a CTS code. Now, the numbers next to that are going to give you the year and the week of that year that the potentiometer was made. So for instance here, these numbers say 0809. So the first two are going to determine the year, which would be a 2008, and then 09 is going to be the 9th week of 2009. And it's pretty simple to understand it like that. Next to it, again, you can see that it's a 250K pot and it's a CTS. If it said 137, 0809, that would still be a CTS potentiometer, but it would still be the same date, the 9th week of 2008. Now, that makes sense because I know that this guitar is a 2008 model, but obviously if this potentiometer was changed out, that would be a lot more confusing, and I wouldn't be able to determine the date that way. A lot of the times on pots that say 137, it could be very old. So if it said something like 137 7805, you would know that the year of that potentiometer would be 1978 and the 5th week of 1978. So those 4 digits will really tell you everything you need to know about the potentiometer date. Let's take a look at another one of my guitars and we can go from there. Okay, so that was cool taking a look at that Fender. Let's take a look at this Gibson Les Paul, or SG, but it's a Les Paul. It's like a 61 and it's one string of glory right here. I gotta restring this thing. But on these guitars, you want to take a look at the potentiometers through the back plate in the back. So just carefully take that off. If you're gonna do this yourself, just be careful that you don't obviously disconnect anything. Otherwise, you're not gonna have signal when you go to plug it in, okay? So let's go ahead and unscrew this bad boy here and take a look at these pots. How you doing? You come here often? If you don't, you could always, hit the little notification bell and then you can come here as often as you want. These are just useful tricks I've learned over the years. Okay, now we got the open cavity here. Let's take a look. Okay, now we've got this cavity open here, and first thing that we can see is I've got these nice capacitors in there. That's cool. I've never opened this up before. I like how it's painted on the inside. Okay, here we have the potentiometer date. I'm trying to get it to focus the best I can. Sometimes they can be really hard to read. Now, a lot of the times, Gibson pots will say Gibson on them. I think that these are original pots because this would match up with the serial number. This guitar is a 2008, and there on the side here, we can see that it says 0812. That would equate to 2008, the 12th week of 2008. Pretty simple to read that one. But sometimes you'll see it actually says Gibson on top of the pot there. I thought for a second these might have been changed out, but considering that this guitar actually is a 2008, I believe that that is the correct potentiometer. Okay, let's take a look at another one of my Gibsons, but this one might not have the original potentiometers in them because this is a special guitar. So this is a real Gibson, but this is a Peter Green replica. And when I bought this guitar, it came with a certificate that basically states that a luthier named Larry Corsa went to the Gibson factory, picked up a bunch of the lightest guitars that he could find, and basically made replicas of the legendary guitar Greenie. They're doing the Greenie replicas now, but this is old. This is an older one. So let's take a look. Actually, this one, the serial number on it equates to a 2007. But I don't know if, because he got his hands on it, if it's going to have Gibson pots or not. So let's open it up and take a look. I love this guitar so much. Been a minute since I played it too. Now I feel bad. I've been playing a lot of my other guitars. You know, one thing about doing a YouTube channel is that I try to rotate my guitars fairly often so that they all get love and I don't feel bad because obviously they're expensive and you want to play them all. I think it's time that I break this one out a little bit more. Okay, now we've got the cavity open here in the back, and this is cool. You can see it says LCPG-100 2008. So that's interesting because the serial number here says 2007. So maybe what Larry did was he came and he got this guitar, but he didn't actually do the transition to the Peter Green guitar until 2008. That's my guess on it, but let's take a look at the pots here. So there we can see it is a 500K potentiometer, and unfortunately we have a glob of solder covering the date. Let's see if we can get another one. Okay, so this one says EP686. It's a 500K pot, 0704. So this potentiometer here equates to a 2007, even though it's dated here as a 2008, but 0704. That would mean that the year of the potentiometer is 2007, the 4th week. Now, this potentiometer here with it saying EP686, I know that that is not actually a Gibson potentiometer. I think that's an all-parts potentiometer, which is a manufacturer for guitar parts. So likely what Mr. Larry Corsa did was he had a stack of these and he put the all parts potentiometer in there. But he did a really good job, as we can see. I mean, it looks really good on the inside of this guitar. I'd like to just quickly mention this too, something that I've learned over the years from just talking to vintage guys or vintage specialists or just guitar players in general, is that at Gibson, what they would do is they would have a big vat of potentiometers of different pots that they would just grab from, and they would just dump different ones in. So you might get potentiometers from a certain date that might not match exactly with the guitar. So it might not be 100% accurate, yet it's still a really good way to get a really general date of the guitar based on the potentiometer date. Though Gibson was known to do that all the time. So, I mean, we kind of just saw that with this guitar. I mean, the guitar date on the neck says that it's a 2007, and the potentiometer date says that it's a 2007, but the date that he worked on it is a 2008. That one's maybe a little bit interesting because it's not a Gibson. I mean, it is a Gibson, but it wasn't worked on by Gibson. This guitar is so great, though. I love this instrument. So why does it all matter? Why do we care about the dates of the potentiometers? Well, knowing the date of your potentiometer can give you insight into your guitar. Again, how old the guitar is, how old the controls are. And it can also give you insight onto whether or not you might want to upgrade the potentiometers. If you have a potentiometer in your guitar that is not great, or just sounds like crap for whatever reason, you might want to upgrade it to a better, higher quality pot in there. And trust me, it will sound a lot better if you do that. It can also just give you insight to know whether or not a pot has been changed. Like, for instance, this is a real Gibson, but they aren't Gibson potentiometers. These are a all-parts potentiometer in this guitar. Which brings me to my next point, by the way, is just to keep up on your potentiometers. Do regular maintenance on them. Keep them clean. Recently, I had to change out the pot on my Zoot Suit, which is really unfortunate that I had to do that, but I play all my guitars all the time, and no matter how many times I would turn it up or try to clean it out, it would crackle. Now, if you want to clean out the pots on your guitar, you can use a spray like this Deoxit, and that's what I did several times, but it just, unfortunately, that crackling just kept coming back. If that happens to you, you might want to change out your potentiometer, especially if you play live, because nobody wants to hear that crackling when you're playing on stage being amplified really loud through an amplifier, right? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful in any way, do me a favor, be sure and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more guitar related content. I know today was like a really nerdy video and we didn't really play any guitar, but it's just a thing that I've learned over the years that I wanted to share with you guys, just in case you find yourself in a position where you're like, I need to be able to date a potentiometer. It's just kind of a cool trick to know. Do you agree? Let me know if I got anything wrong in the comments or if I missed any important information that I need to share about potentiometers. Hopefully this video helped you out. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name's Cliffhanger, and I'll see you guys the next time that I see you. Peace.